Science is one of those subjects that you should definitely be doing as a family. If you are teaching multiple different age levels, then science is a great one to bring everybody together. And by bringing everybody together, you are creating a family culture in which you'll be able to refer back to, remember when we learned about that, or when we went there, or did that experiment together? But if instead they're all doing individual subjects, or curriculums for their science subject, it's gonna be a mess. You are going to burn out. I have 5 different curriculums that we are going to go through and look at and compare which one might be best for your family. If we haven't met yet, I'm Abby. I'm the homeschool mom of 4 boys. I love sharing family style curriculum with you guys and what we're using, but more importantly, I'm interested in if it is also teaching my kids about God. And science is one of those subjects that should make your kids so excited to learn more about His amazing creation, His design, His purpose for things. I have gained a whole heart for science. I never used to like science before teaching my kids, and now I absolutely love it. We have actually used a little bit, at least, of each of these, so I'm excited to show you inside. Let's start with Apologia. Apologia is a very well-known science curriculum for a family to use. This is definitely creation-based and will include verses about what you're learning about the heavens and the earth. But when you pick a category like the heavens or space, you're going to go through that topic for an entire year. Personally, I think that's a really long time, and we ended up doing this in a summer. So you can always take any curriculum and change it to fit your own family's needs. I didn't want to study space for an entire school year, so we did it for a summer, about 3 months. And then you have to just tweak the schedule for yourself to be able to do that. When you get it, you're going to get the textbook portion, which is this here. It has lots of images in it, you can see, and you go through each planet, you go to the sun, you talk about each different thing. Along with this one, you would get a student journal for each child that you have. I actually just did one for all of my kids, and we ended up not completing it. It has different activities for them to be writing their vocabulary words in, questions that they can answer. So you could do that orally if you're not looking for extra handwriting there. Sometimes color pictures. I know we cut out some things. There's like this spinning part here that we did as a little activity, but basically it all stays in the notebook, and then this would be a way that you could keep your proof of work if you need to do that for your state that you are in, or if your kids are just hands-on and enjoy doing something like this. If you are a mom who really enjoys experiments, you might want to get this book here. This is the activity guide, and inside of it are all kinds of different activities that you can do, experiments, and just a lot more. I think Apologia is a very rigorous science curriculum. If you are looking for something, like you want to make sure that your kids are not behind in science, you think that they might need to go on in college for science, they have a field of interest that they want to go on for in science, Apologia would probably be the one that I would recommend. I feel completely confident saying that you will end up with a very good science education if you do this as a family. When you get into the upper levels, there's even independent extra help that you can get online by joining different online groups. I don't really know much about this. Katie from Life in the Mundane has used Apologia, and her kids are in some of those upper levels now, and they are using that. So you can hop over to her channel. I'll leave a link down below to learn more about Apologia. I have chosen not to continue with Apologia Science, at least for now, because I think it is a lot more than my kids need at this level. It is much more rigorous, and I am much more of a relaxed homeschooler. I also would never do the extra activities in here because that's a lot. And I think if you're doing this heavily, then some of your other subjects are going to need to be a little bit lighter. I've also seen people get together and do this more as a co-op style, and that might be a really good way to include those activities if you're doing it with another family. MasterBooks takes a very different approach. This is a much more Charlotte Mason gentle style of learning. Each book has 3 units in it. So this one has Weather and Water for beginners, Universe for beginners, and Planet Earth for beginners. Each one of those has 35 lessons. You can have additional lessons within there by adding the vocab, like a different day of the week, or if you're looking to include quizzes or tests for your kids, you could add some extra days in there too. There is a schedule at the beginning of the book that shows kind of what a layout would look like for 180 days of school. Obviously, you're doing more like 3 to 4 days within that, how it works out, because it's only 105 lessons, but you don't do science every day of the week unless you're doing like a unit study and pushing hard through it. I wanted to show you, I thought this was a really good example of what this looks like for a unit, for a lesson portion. So this is lesson number 9. And so you're going to read about the water cycle, and there's a lot of tracing. This book is specifically for K through 2. So really you're only covering about 3 grades, whereas Apologia is really gearing towards the family, and they don't put grade levels on there. But here you're going to be tracing the words. Here you're filling in the blanks. There are questions on the bottom to be able to answer with the kids, and then you're on to lesson 10. So that's 1 day's lesson right there. The next day you're doing more reading, tracing a Bible verse, and then here you're going to make a cloud in a jar. So it has an activity for you to do, and it tells you in the beginning the different supplies that you will need each time. The next day you're going to learn about the different kinds of clouds there are. You only get 1 book. All of the answers are in the back for the teacher, so you don't have to worry about buying a separate book. It makes it more affordable in that way. Here's who this would be really good for. This is good for the mom who wants an open and go curriculum, who wants to receive a box and a package and just go with what it is. You are definitely going to check off all the boxes of what your kids need to learn for that level, to pass science. It's absolutely excellent if you are checking off the boxes on things that your kids want to learn. I'm afraid that the repetitiveness of just opening each page the way that it is, my kids hated handwriting, so this would have just been torture for them. We actually did do this for a short season, and it didn't make me excited for science. I don't know that I can fully explain that. I have friends that have used this curriculum and really enjoyed it, and it gets them through. They check it off and they've done it and they move on, and it's been fine for them. Other parents say that it is too gentle. I do think that it has everything that your kids need in there, and it has the review by adding in those vocabulary words, but it wasn't for us. But it might be for you. Let me know down in the comments as we're going through this, which ones do you like? Do you agree with my assessment on these, or would you say something different? That is totally fine. Every family needs to find what works for them, and that is just different. I love Generations Science. So you get 2 books. You get the textbook and then the student book. I only purchased 1 of these and go through them with my kids, and I'll show you why in a minute. The textbook is absolutely beautiful. I always enjoy the images that they have in there. This is the human body one. We just did this one in the beginning of spring. There are 36 lessons, and each one of those would technically be broken up into like 2 or 3. I can't exactly remember because we did them at one time. We did a whole chapter at one time. But what you would really be doing here, you read this, and then you stop and you go to activity 25 in the activity book. And then the next day you would pick up and do this and stop and go do the activity and read this and then do another activity. So the way that we did it is I actually have these on audio from Generations. My boys would listen to the audio reading of the chapter and follow along, while I opened up the activity book and decided what activity from that day we were going to do. So for, let's see, chapter 14, we're learning about skin and layers. So I could pick, or if you were following the way that you're supposed to on the first day, you would do this. You would color the different layers of the skin and label them there. On the next day, you do a sensitivity experiment. And then it looks like, oh yeah, you're just charting along based on like how you feel that. This is like a paper clip poking you in different places to see how sensitive you are to it. They also encourage singing a hymn to go along with each unit, reciting a memory verse. And then for the third activity, you might choose this word list, which also has review, because you're putting the words underneath what system you've learned it from the past. So this is like a review option. So I would pick one of those activities at the end of the chapter for my kids to do, and then we would move on, because we always move at kind of accelerated rates. What I wanted to say about this with generations is that God is so undeniably evident. They make it so exciting. Wow, God did this and it's so cool. Like they don't do it in a cheesy way. I don't know how to explain it exactly. They just do such a good job of explaining God's awesome and perfect design for this, and they are very blunt about your genetics and life. I've just been really impressed. They'll also, in some of the books, point out scientists who were Christians and talk about their lives in little blurbs on there. At the end of each lesson, when you get to, at least the older books, I think it's in here too, you just have to get to it from the very beginning. There's like a URL once you've purchased the book that you can go to see additional videos that they have sourced that go along with that lesson. Now, both this and MasterBooks love Ken Ham. MasterBooks actually like works together with Ken Ham and Answers in Genesis and the Ark. Like you'll see all of these things together a lot. This fly does not want to leave me alone. And then some of the videos that Genesis uses, or that Generations uses, will also be from those sources along with others. A true family style curriculum would be like Gather Round's homeschool unit lessons. This one specifically is forest animals. I picked this one out of our shelf because my kids absolutely loved the forest animals unit that we did. These are designed to be done in 20 days, and each day is focused on a different animal in the forest. And so here we have porcupines, and you're going to learn different facts and things about porcupines, what they eat, what their habitat is, what they do in winter, their life cycle, interesting facts, and then your students go over to their workbooks. Now, you can buy just the family bundle of this, so you have it for all of your kids through all of the grade levels, and then their workbooks are tweaked just a bit to be fitting for what they should be doing at their grade level. So here I have the early elementary one, and those kids are going to be drawing a porcupine, explaining the life cycle, drawing a picture of their diet, what they eat, interesting facts. I remember there being a lot of anatomy that went along with this lesson actually in the workbooks, talking about teeth. That one really sticks out to me for some reason, or there were just tons of anatomy lessons, even comparing to humans. So that's one way that Gather Round does do like spiral, is they will bring some things back, because you might have done the human body unit lesson, but now you're talking about some of those things again while you're talking about animals too. This is a comparison of a porcupine and a hedgehog. We actually made our own journals when we did this one, and I had the kids draw and do Venn diagrams to compare, because there's a lot of comparison in here, and then they would journal notes of things that they learned in their separate journals that we would keep. This here is actually using alliteration, teaching alliteration, a mosh pit of mosquitoes, a mile of mosquitoes, a mall of mosquitoes. And so then they're supposed to go down there and do a blank of gazelles, a blank of deer. And so they're practicing alliteration there. We've got geography tied in with what the location is that you can find porcupines. And that's specifically on the Great Lakes is what they're focusing on there. So you're getting that lesson. And then you've got art and history included as well, by what the indigenous people used to do with the porcupine quills and how they can be used. And then you could well, it's sewing. So you could sew something too, I suppose, if you're looking for an extra activity in there. You can see how they use a lot of different things within this, and these are truly family style. I've also found that Rebecca Spooner and her team do such a good job bringing God in. There's a lot of times that there's like these little kingdom moments or just devotional times that you will stop and you will read some Bible passages and talk about how that reflects with God or the lesson that we can learn from there. Again, I don't ever find these to be cheesy. I think that their team does a really, really good job bringing in God because he is in everything. Sassafras Science is a completely different way of learning science. This is your read aloud book. So you would be reading to your kids about these two children who travel around the world and are learning about a science topic of some kind, whether that's anatomy, zoology, or in this case, chemistry. They went to the moon at one point and learned about hydrogen, and now I think we're going to Russia to learn about something. It's been like 2 weeks since we picked this up last because we were gone for a little bit. After you read the chapter here, you go over to this book. This book has a list of ideas, activities, extra things, vocab, other books and resources you might go to, and just additional things. There's encyclopedia readings, there's copy work and dictation. Then there's a third book that I don't have, and this is a book that has like a journal layout for your kids for them to be writing in and journaling. Okay, we're going to write what that element looks like on the periodic table, what does it do, or what is it used in, and fill out different things like that. I actually started with Sassafras Zoology a long time ago and learned so much from this method of how education can be really fun, how it doesn't have to be from a textbook or doing these other things. It can really be hands-on for the kids, and I love having them keep their own journals on the topics that we're learning about, and I think I originally got that from learning this style. This is not a Christian book by any means. I do remember like something about the Bible came up at one point, and I thought that was cool that they acknowledged that, but it's not going to teach your kids about God or give them an excitement in that way. We are just doing this as a summer filler curriculum here and there as we move on, but yeah. It can definitely be used as a full curriculum. I just prefer things that are more on the Christian side of things. That was a quick overview. I'm not an expert in some of these curriculums, so I would love to hear more of your thoughts down below, or other science curriculums that would be good for the whole family that I didn't cover here. Let others know down below. Here are some related videos that you might be interested in checking out next. Thanks so much for stopping by, guys, and we'll see you soon.